Difficulty is just part of life in the wilderness. If it isn't the bloodthirsty insects, the vermin stealing your food, or the occasional band of roving brigands ruining your day, then it's probably the predictably unpredictable weather. For those in the world of The Witcher, monsters like the diminutive Nekker are simply one more everyday danger to keep in mind when you live far away from the safety of high stone walls and trained guards, one to be avoided at practically any cost. Usually no larger than the average adolescent human, the mottled, practically hairless skin of a Nekker looks almost as if it were too large for their small frame, having been awkwardly pulled taut somehow in a laughably futile attempt to make it fit better, leaving the extra folds to hang jowl-like from beneath its chin. With dull, cruel eyes in deep-set sockets, flattened snouts, razor-sharp claws, and a viciously fanged mouth set into a permanent rictus grin, one of these misshapen and ugly creatures would never pose any real threat to most people, in spite of its appearance. Which is why anyone who happens to stumble upon a single Nekker on a lonely road should be ready to either flee or fight for their lives immediately, as Nekkers almost always attack in an ambush with larger numbers of their kin, intending to overwhelm their prey before it has any real chance to fight back. Found in the wilds and forests of every known corner of the world, as few as a dozen of these relatively commonplace monsters can still quickly spell the end of even the most experienced of witchers. Highly social creatures, Nekkers tend to form colonies any place they are likely to come across easily ambushable prey, with populations of up to several dozen individuals depending on just how plentiful and successful those ambushes are. They dig out larger burrows to serve as their lairs, with each of these layers being connected together through a complex network of narrow tunnels that allow the colony to rapidly traverse the entire surrounding territory and execute ambush attacks from below ground as well as above. Even when they outnumber their prey several times over, these creatures tend to be incredibly cowardly if faced with the slightest chance of resistance, often still hesitating at the last moment after surrounding a victim in hopes that one of its kin will be the first to attack instead. However, on occasion, a Nekker is encountered that stands tall among its fellows, all of whom appear to obey and show subservience to it, one with a unique and interesting habit of marking its face with red clay, as if to signify the greater strength, cunning, and ferocity it possesses compared to others of its kind. These larger Nekkers, usually referred to as warriors or chieftains, are notably less cowardly and stupid than their lesser kin, and their mere presence will transform a colony's disorganized ambush into a ruthless and deadly attack. Considering the tendency to prey and feed on sentient species, living in underground dens, and general appearance, it would be easy to mistake Nekkers for yet another variety of necrophage. But unlike corpse eaters, these monsters simply aren't picky about the source of their meals. Not only do they prefer to eat their victims at the time of the kill like most predatory animals, but they are also just as happy to rip into an unfortunate goat or horse as any human, dwarf, elf, or any of the rest of the intelligent species of the world. Meat is meat to a Nekker, and they aren't very specific about where it comes from, as long as they can sink their fangs into it. In fact, Nekkers are technically classified as ogroids, their physiology and habits having more in common with trolls and giants than anything else according to those well-learned scholars who make these kind of decisions, which would seem somewhat of an odd choice in classification at first glance. However, like other ogroids, Nekkers show several signs of being more than simple brutish predators. Not only do many of their colonies show signs of primitive ornamentation, possibly indicating the early stages of a crude, tribe-like culture, but the complex vocalizations that they use to communicate have been theorized by some scholars to represent the early signs of actual language. While it doesn't seem likely that Nekkers are going to be making deals with nearby settlements anytime soon, the way it's sometimes done with the more friendly and intelligent trolls, it's hard to dismiss the signs of sentience and social structure behind these monsters' behavior. If that alone wasn't convincing enough, while Geralt of Rivia was on contract in Toussaint, he came across a crude cave painting created by some local Nekkers, further indicating a level of awareness far greater than the simple, mindless predators most people see them as. Though never directly mentioned in the Witcher books or Netflix series, the World of the Witcher art book explains that Nekkers were directly inspired by the unnamed monsters Geralt faced in combat during the bridge battle that takes place in the short story Something More, the last story featured in the book Sword of Destiny. In spite of not playing a major role in any aspect of the books themselves, these vicious little humanoids have become a staple of Witcher lore, thanks to the imagination of the CD Projekt Red team, and are just one of the many reasons the games have grown to such incredible heights of popularity. Thanks for joining me on another look into the lore of The Witcher, and if you want to learn more about this topic and so many others, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.